Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
We are an inclusive faith community
seeking to live out the loving, just, and generous way of Jesus.
We are participants in a long tradition
that's less concerned with doctrines and dogma that demand total agreement,
but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others.
What unites us is a growing awareness that life is precious.
That we are made by love in order to love.
This community is comprised of and affirms the entire human family.
Regardless of race, age, creed,
physical abilities, marital or economic status,
gender identity, or sexual orientation.
So, if you're curious and have come to see,
if you are tired and have come to rest,
if you are grateful and have come to share,
if you are wounded and have come to heal,
if you're joyful and have come to celebrate,
if you are uprooted and have come to belong,
welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
It's too far to walk alone. You can't do it on your own. It's like bare hands digging through stone. And if things go down much steeper hills, even money won't pay these bills. But time is sure to show that people gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. Sometimes feels like I'm drifting a million miles from this planet. But what a shame it would be to look back on my life and realize that I've taken you and you for granted. People gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And I can't see what's a mile around the bend. I do not know where this world is headed or where it may end. But you gave me this smile, so I threw away my frown. And I ain't gonna pick up, no you don't pick up what you just put down. People gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. Are people gonna be okay? Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way was the one. Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as foes. Maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate. Mental wounds not healing, driving me insane. And I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I've listened to preachers and I've listened to fools. I've watched all the dropouts who make their own rules. One person conditioned to rule and control. The media sells it and we all live the role. Mental wounds still screaming, driving me insane. And I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I know that things are going wrong for me. You've got to listen to my words, yeah. Heirs of a Cold War, it's what we've become. Inheriting trouble and then passing it on. Crazy, I just cannot bear. We're living with something that just isn't fair. Mental wounds not healing, who or what's to blame. And I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy, 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 crazy train. I'm going off the rails on a crazy train. Maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate.
Good morning. Each year, Wake Ed provides free classroom supplies to nearly 11,000 teachers in Wake County Public Schools through their Tools for Schools program. In partnership with the Northwest Cary YMCA, Crosspointe will be supporting this effort and collecting school supply donations through August 10th. Collection bins can be found in the lobby on Sunday mornings. You can find a list of needed items and more information at crosspointe.org/events/school supply drive. College-age adults are invited to a pool party and cookout on July 31st. There is no cost to attend, but please RSVP at crosspointe.org/events/college pool party to help us plan accordingly. We are so excited for our community to gather together at Crosspointe's annual summer block party on Sunday, August 10th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. We hope you'll join us for games, water inflatables, and food. And one of the highlights of the summer block party is an open mic with our very own community musicians. You can choose to sing solo or with the backing of the Crosspointe band. There are opportunities to volunteer, contribute, and participating in the open mic, as well as all the other events that we have going on at the block party. And you can find out about all of them at crosspointe.org/events/summer block party. For all this information and more, you can just go to crosspointe.org and you can find all of these events listed and could give you a little bit more information about them. If you want to partner with Crosspointe financially on all the many things that are going on in our community, there are lots of ways that you can do that. You can find more at crosspointe.org/contribute or simply text CrosspointeNC to 77977. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth. My whole being shall make its boast in the Lord. Let the humble hear it and rejoice. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt God's name together. I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. They looked to God and were radiant, and their faces showed no shame. When the lowly cry out, God listens and from all their troubles rescues them. The messenger of the Lord encamps around those who are in awe of God and sets them free. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed are those who shelter in the one who is trustworthy. Be in awe of the Lord, O God's holy ones. For those who are in awe of God want for nothing. Young lions might lack and hunger, but those who seek the Lord shall lack no good thing. Come, children, and listen to me. I will teach you the awe of the Lord. Who is the one who desires life, who loves many days so as to see good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and chase after it. The Lord's eyes are on the righteous, and the Lord's ears open to their cry. The Lord's face is against evildoers, to root out their memory from the earth. Cry out, and the Lord hears, and delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted, and rescues the crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, yet from all of them the Lord will save. God guards every bone, not one is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and the foes of the righteous will bear guilt. The Lord redeems the lives of God's servants. No one who shelters in God will bear guilt. There ends the reading of the 34th Psalm, which Scripture attributes to David. It's a weird psalm, in part because it comes with something that almost none of the other psalms do, which is some context. A psalm of David, says a little note before the poem begins in earnest, when he pretended to be crazy before Abimelech, who sent him away, and David departed. Strange as this psalm might be, we still say with conviction that this is the word of the Lord. So thanks be to God. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the psalm goes. And reading that, my question for you, but really for me, my question is this. What about now? Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the song says. And I think this is actually kind of rude. There's a part of me that looks at the psalmist, hears these words from the psalmist almost as something of a brag, as if he sees me struggling over here, struggling with gratitude, struggling with feeling any kind of spirit of praise. And he says, in spite of everything, I'm going to bless the Lord, and I'm going to sing it louder than you. He seems like the kid who pushes to the front of the crowd, the one who raises his hand highest and hardest in class, waving it to answer the teacher's question. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the psalm says. And if I ever had the chance to write Psalm 34 and a half, it might begin, God, I'm just keeping it real. Psalm 34 was written by an insufferable little snot. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the song says. Let me ask the question again that I had for myself and also for you. What about now? My goodness, the audacity of this psalm and its almost absurd claims, especially when juxtaposed against this wild and brutal world. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the song says. And did you hear what else the psalmist said? Many are the afflictions of the righteous, yet from all of them the Lord will save. Look around the world. Does that seem to be true? I've lost count of how many wars are simmering, even raging right now. Just yesterday, I read of another one that might be flaring on the border of Thailand and Cambodia. In so many lands and places, people are being made to suffer simply for who they are, or perhaps just for not being in power. And where are the divine chariots to free from captivity those who have been unjustly taken from their families, whether in our country or elsewhere? Then there's this lovely allegation: God guards every bone, not one is broken. Again, the news seems to call out this lie. Last week, the Holy Family Parish in Gaza, the same congregation that received near daily calls from Pope Francis almost until his death. Holy Family was hit by what the Israeli military called an errant strike. 3 people, including the janitor and 2 elderly women who were sheltering at the church, were killed. And then there's this metaphor: taste and see that the Lord is good. This line feels especially rich, given the latest reports of widespread famine. And let us be clear, in this case, it's the use of starvation as a punitive tool for command and control. The latest reports that have emerged from Gaza. And then there are the parts of the world that are receiving even less attention, despite the dire humanitarian crises continuing there. Sudan, for instance, which according to the World Food Program has more people experiencing catastrophic hunger than anywhere else in the world. And what about this line? Those who are in awe of God want for nothing. I can just hear that one trotted out by someone especially pious in response to someone who's struggling, someone with the courage to name her grief, someone with the bravery to admit their need. But God, the cliche reply comes, God is in control. One more choice line. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and rescues the crushed in spirit. Well, let me tell you, there is nothing like a Jeff Chu sermon to break your heart and crush your spirit just a little more. So God must be pretty close to us right now, right? Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the song says. What about now? Here's a little secret about sermon writing. Sometimes you pick a text because you have to, because it seems like a good idea at the time, or maybe not even a good idea, just an idea, because you need to tell the rest of the team something. So you pick this passage without knowing what you're going to say about it, or even if you have something to say about it, but you know you need to say something. And here we are. That's it. That's the story. No big lesson or takeaway. I've been wrestling with Psalm 34 for much of this week because I told the team that's what I was preaching on. And on Thursday night going into Friday morning, I actually woke up around 2:45 and I couldn't get back to sleep. It was gnawing at me and it was really irritating me. And I don't think it was just my sleeplessness. Nobody told me about that part of middle age, by the way. This trouble sleeping. Can we have a sidebar about that later? I had this sense that the psalm makes promises that do not feel as if they are being kept. This psalm names deeply, profoundly human things. And then it says some pretty bold ones too about God. And for the life of me, I've been struggling to square it all, looking at our present circumstances. I want it to be true. I desperately, wholeheartedly want each and every one of these aspirational promises to be fulfilled. And not just now, but yesterday. Do you hear the competing impulses in the text? The stark reality of what we see around us juxtaposed against these sweeping and lovely, yet seemingly unkept promises about God? Do you feel at once that deep longing for someone good, someone just, someone powerful, to fix things? Alongside that fear that these pledges might not be made good. Does your soul ache? Does your heart break for some kind of healing, perhaps not even for yourself, but also for someone in your life? And do you want to believe in this grand prediction of some sort of divinely orchestrated resolution? Because nothing human seems to have worked to this point. Let me just say now, by the way, that if you're all good, if you're reading the news and thinking, yeah, no worries, or if your life is that one relentlessly sunny spot in a storm-clouded world, maybe this sermon isn't for you. But if you're feeling burdened or angry or sad or confused or a little bit lost amidst the tumult, well then, let me say welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I'm so glad we get to be in the midst of all this together. Last week, I was on a work trip in New York City, and I snuck in a lunch with two dear friends with whom I attended seminary. I was really glad to see them, but I had an ulterior motive: to orchestrate a first meeting with their baby son, who was just born a few months ago. Little Alistair sat and napped contentedly through our meal. And I was both a bit envious of him and nervous for him. Envious because the bliss of infancy still belongs to him, hovering around him like some sort of halo. And nervous for him because I want the world to be kinder, gentler, and more just by the time he begins to realize exactly what he has been thrust into. But can I say to him what the psalmist said to us? Come, children, and listen to me. I will teach you the awe of the Lord. Who is the one who desires life, who loves many days so as to see good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and chase after it. Can I say that to the baby? Come to think of it, how could I not? Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, the song says. And as I turned those words over again in my heart, and as I remembered Alistair's sweet, chubby-cheeked face, I began to hear the psalm differently, perhaps more tenderly. Not with swagger, not with David's confidence, but with perhaps some relief and perhaps some pleading, and perhaps some of the human complexity that surely marked David's youth. Let me bless, the psalmist says, not I am blessing. This is a commitment, a discipline, not a happy-go-lucky statement of faith or a view of the world seen through those proverbial rose-colored glasses. No. This is the proclamation of someone who has survived a bout of hardship and fully expects there to be more to come. This is the testimony of someone who has known pain and understands that respite comes with no guarantee that it won't return. According to scripture, David wrote and sang Psalm 34 in the aftermath of a terrifying episode. He has already been anointed by the priest prophet Samuel, but he hasn't yet been crowned king. Saul still sits on the throne, and David is in his service. David's a character, one of those annoyingly gifted ones, in fact, who wields the harp as skillfully as he does a sword. In short order, he makes himself useful to Saul, whose frayed nerves relax when David strums and sings, and then David wins even greater renown by slaying Goliath. The people begin to sing a song with a chorus that goes, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands. And something begins to grow in Saul that wasn't there before. You may call it envy or irritation or inflated ego. Scripture just names it as fear. And as David's success and popularity grow, so does Saul's fear and loathing, so much so that he tries to kill David. David flees into the unlikeliest of sanctuaries. I suspect he thought it was a pretty clever plan. He goes straight to the court of the very king who had sent Goliath into battle. But his fame has preceded him. The king's servants have heard that song about him too, and they sing it for their king. Isn't that the guy? They say. So obviously David does the only sensible thing. He pretends to be insane. He drools, he scratches at the gates as if he were an animal. He acts completely out of his mind, and the king banishes him, at which point we are told he writes this song. He's temporarily made his escape, but his enemies are still out there. There's only so much that is within his control. So he sings this bold thing. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth. Much of Psalm 34 feels like a pep talk for the discouraged, and maybe David turned to poetry as a way of reiterating important truths to himself. He recounts how God has answered his prayers and offered him rescue. He remembers. But there are two teachable moments in this song too that I think are worth lifting up. One of them is in this odd little section of the psalm that sounds a bit more like a passage from Proverbs than it does your typical psalm. There's a shift, in fact, from testimony to instruction. Come, children, and listen to me. I will teach you the awe of the Lord, he sings. Who is the one who desires life, who loves many days so as to see good? Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking lies. Turn away from evil and do good. Seek peace and chase after it. In his magnificent translation, the Hebrew literature scholar Robert Alter chooses an even more powerful phrasing. Swerve from evil and do good, as if evil were like a deer that surprises us on the path of life. The other teachable moment is, I think, a bit more subtle. It comes in the 5th and 6th verses. They looked to God and were radiant, and their faces showed no shame. When the lowly cry out, God listens, and from all their troubles rescues them. It's actually a sudden turn. They looked to God and were radiant. Who are they? David never tells us. Maybe he expects that we'll just know, or maybe the ambiguity is both intentional and invitational, as if to say, you could be a part of this blessed they. You too can look to God and find your radiance. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus famously tells his beloveds, you are the light of the world. But this kind of talk isn't so common in the Hebrew Bible. In fact, I think Psalm 34 is one of just 2 places where humans are described as being light. And it's notable that we're not radiant in and of ourselves. Radiance is relational. It's as if God is our sun. And we not only get to bask in that life-giving light, but we also have the opportunity to reflect it to others who might also be living in the shadows. To be radiant means that God, in some miracle of divine physics, gives us more than enough light, and indeed more than enough love, to turn it out into the world without losing any of its goodness for ourselves. Taken together, these two teachable moments mount up in an insistent chorus. Because you are loved, there is nothing to be ashamed of and everything to be confident in. Because you are loved, you can shine love out into this world. Because you are loved, your radiance means the power to make good choices, life-giving choices, fruitful choices, choices that bless your neighbors, choices that combat evil, choices that make for peace. It's telling, too, that David shifts from the singular, from the I and me, to the plural. Yeah, his story might be unique, but it's also knit into the story of God's people. His emphasis is on our life together. And I say our life, not their lives, thanks to a quirk that I found in one of the oldest English translations, the Wycliffe, which was produced in the late 14th century. Those translators did something interesting with this verse. Rather than putting it in the past tense, they instead framed it as an imperative, an instruction, one that I find especially heartening. Go ye near to God, and ye shall shine with joy, it says. Your faces shall not be shamed. Go ye near to God. Those of us who have felt the heat of shame, the redness of humiliation, know what that means. Those of us who have slunk into the shadows for one reason or another, burdened by secrets, can understand the liberation, perhaps even the seeming impossibility of shining with joy. And those of us who have been wallflowers at the dance or lived on the margins of any room can sense the freedom David writes about here, the ridiculous promise that God offers. Those of us who have felt these hard things must know that true love would demand that we never wish those things on anyone else. This, dear ones, is all good news. Good news for those of us who, in our current and contemporary lives, are feeling perhaps something less than radiant, something that feels maybe shameful. Good news for those of us who struggle with fear or who are wrestling with grief or uncertainty. Good news for those of us who feel unmoored or even worse, paralyzed by circumstance. Here we have the testimony of one of our spiritual ancestors reminding us of the source of true hope and sustenance. You can do this, he says. You can be peacemakers and shining lights. Not because we have the wherewithal in and of ourselves, but because we have this divine superpower that is God's ridiculous love. I want to believe that. And when I don't, I want you to believe it for me. I suspect you want to believe that too. And when you don't, I promise I'll try to believe it for you. I don't think Psalm 34 is some narcotic for the spiritually angsty or palliative care for those who are weary of this world. Not at all. Because amidst the grand promises and the sweeping declarations of who God is, it cleverly calls upon us to show ourselves in faithful action for who we are, as well as who we hope to be. If we're going to lay claim to the alleged goodness of this God, it suggests that there are some things we ought to do, not out of obligation, not because we have to, but out of divinely inspired radiance and holy gladness and sacred awe. We want to know and to make peace because our God is a God of peace. We want to know and to spread love because our God is a God of love. We want to know and to share awe and wonder because our God has given us a world that, despite humanity's best efforts, remains resplendent with gorgeousness and wonder-worthy things. a parent's warm embrace, a friend's open hand, a perfect strawberry topped with whipped cream, a cool gush of water on a blazingly hot day, the whir of a monarch butterfly's brilliant wings, the witness of a towering mountain that has seen the snows and storms of many generations, the flash of a firefly, or do you call it a lightning bug? This is why I am so often so insistent about seeking out the goodness and the beauty of the world, because we need to be reminded of these things, because we need to be stirred in our souls to hold to possibility. Because we need to remember that when we are lowly and brokenhearted and crushed in spirit, someone has promised to hear our cries and see our tears and sense our despondency. And when we aren't lowly and brokenhearted and crushed in spirit ourselves, we get to open our ears and our eyes and our hearts to respond with mercy and compassion and grace. Because we need to be inspired toward not mere relief, but also the fullness of flourishing. Let me bless the Lord at all times. God's praise shall be ever in my mouth, David sang. So what about us? What about now? Amen. Go in peace to love and serve God and your neighbor.
If you would like to know more or get connected to Crosspointe, go to crosspointenc.org. If you're in need of care or assistance, go to crosspointe.org/care. And welcome home.